Hello, Steelers Nation, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Steel City Insider podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Hritz, alongside publisher of Steel City Insider, Mr. Jim Wexell. And today we welcome two distinguished guests to the show. We have Brian Batko, beat writer for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and Noah Strackbein, who is the Steelers beat writer for Sports Illustrated. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Wex and Jeremy.
Brian,
and it's great to be with Noah, too, one of my pals on the beat.
I agree. I'm excited to be here. A first-time guest, and I got to say, I honor to be on with Brian and Wex and Jeremy. Shout out to you guys.
Well, Brian is probably, if you need to know anything about something you just missed on the practice field. Hey, Brian, what happened to the left guard? Oh, he got turned or whatever, you know. And Noah runs the smoothest podcast. Oh, well, shout out to your podcast, Noah, because it's really good.
I appreciate that. It's all Steelers talk. You guys can find us on youtube.com/all
Steelers talk. You only have about 40 more thousand subscribers than us. Our 1,000 are going to now go see the Noah.
I hope. Look at anybody who's watching this from All Steelers Talk. This is the place to be, because if you think I'm an insider, you clearly don't know your standards, because I'm the pedestal here goes here and I'm down here. Let's be honest, guys.
Do you talk about all the Steelers? Have you talked about Nick Broker at all yet on the podcast? Or
no?
Let's see, Quindell Johnson.
No.
If it's all Steelers talk, if it's all Steelers, we need all the Steelers to be talked at some point.
That's true. I wait till the 53, and then we.
Or does that mean you only talk? The podcast is only Steelers talk. It's exclusively Steelers.
That's also not true, because I just spoke about how I got yelled at the first day I was ever here. So it's nice. By Mike Prizzuto, who's also been on the show. So
I love the banter. Love the banter here, but let's jump into it. Mandatory minicamp. And Brian, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, the biggest news, Aaron Rodgers now being a Pittsburgh Steeler. And let's start with your impressions of him in minicamp so far. I know it's not a big chunk of time, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he even confirmed himself on Tuesday that this is kind of just like an onboarding process for him. He's not taking the live reps 11 on 11 or even 7 on 7, which you think back to like training camp when Russell Wilson was dealing with the aggravated calf and he was still like, come on, guys, just like put me out there for 7 on 7. I'll do anything. I'm willing to do anything right now to get on the field. Both are Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. Both are probably, I think, in Russ's case, future Hall of Famers. But I think Aaron, at least so far, it's been 2 days, but my initial impressions, which he asked for, were a little more low-key, not quite as much presence or aura about him as Russell Wilson. But again, maybe that's just because he's feeling everybody out, they're feeling him out, and he's more of a spectator than an active participant so far.
And great. And Noah, I was reading a recent piece that you put together, and you talked about a statement that Rodgers made where this decision came from his soul, not his ego. And you referenced how not just that component, but it's time for the Steelers to believe him. Can you elaborate on that?
I just think that Aaron showed up, and there was also already this like negative notion around him. Everybody was so skeptical and nervous about what Aaron Rodgers was going to bring and who he was. And, we learned nothing about him. He showed up, and it felt coming in here, at least from the outside noise, without knowing Aaron Rodgers personally, it felt like Aaron was a guy that was him and team. And immediately you started to feel it was just, okay, Aaron's just part of the team. And I think that's big. Like, that's where the excitement comes from. The fact that you get the vibe, the energy that Aaron is looking to be a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And up until, go ask Terry Bradshaw, go ask any of these guys. They were not, it was very much so viewed as Aaron does not want to be part of this team. So the fact that he is, I think that shows you, all right, let's give him a shot. Let's see what happens.
I get a real peaceful vibe from him. I think he's really at peace and relaxed. He looks a little older than I expected, a little smaller. But then out on the field, I looked at him today. I'm like, this dude's in shape. He can move. And, he hasn't let it all out with his arm. But he throws that little sidearm flip. And it hits you that Aaron Rodgers is on this team. Growing up with Ben was different. He grew up in your family, and the practice facility is small, and the lunchroom gets crowded, and it's small. It's not It's not like New York City, right? And so it hits you when you see him just join your little bandbox. And then I'm walking out, and he comes up to Kaboli and says, "Man, I really like you when you're on with Pat." Kaboli's he's like the star, and Aaron Rodgers is the fan, right? So that was a pretty cool little scene, even though I'm jealous of Kaboli now. But I like it. I don't know what he's got left, and that remains to be seen, but I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I would agree. He seems at peace, but I almost wonder, is he too much at peace? Is he just kind of
can't be too
riding
much
off
at peace.
into the sunset with this
peace.
last season? That's
Well, I think you're looking for the edge. I mean, does he have an edge to win a championship? That's what we want. And agreed. You wonder, but he's here, and for a low salary, he wants something bad and must be winning.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like last year with Russ, it was almost too much. I have to bring a championship to the city, and it just, you kind of looked at it like look, man, that's all you have going for you is this chip on your shoulder that you're looking to ride, So maybe it's a good change of scenery here.
Yeah, and let's talk about the other quarterbacks here. And Brian, nice piece in writing about Mason Rudolph and how, it's just another day in the NFL with him always getting looked over. But I'd like to get both of your perspective, Brian and Noah here. If we look at Rodgers, and again, very, very limited sample size with what he's shown, obviously, but just looking at Rodgers as the player versus what we saw from Wilson last year, Justin Fields, and even Mason Rudolph, what stands out to you guys as the biggest difference? And then how does that translate to impacting this team this year?
Well, we heard from Arthur Smith this morning, and I think that could be sort of the biggest factor in this thing working. They've got to lean into Aaron's 20 years of experience in the league and the ability to trust what he's seeing at the line of scrimmage, get out of a play, get into a running play, if that's what makes the most sense based on the defensive front and all of that. And, I don't know if Russ or Justin really had that confidence from the play caller. And Arthur Smith always gets a little bit prickly about that. But I think that's where even Russ, when he was at his best in the league, he was more of an ad-libbing, extending plays, backyard football type of guy. Whereas can Aaron Rodgers, still at his advanced age, relatively speaking, be surgical, slicing and dicing from the pocket and taking advantage of individual mismatches? Now, we could go down a whole other say how many times were these pass catchers going to present a mismatch to him, but man, they better identify one and take advantage when they get it.
Yeah, and I think just what you see out here on day one is the biggest difference is the Steelers, just like Brian said, you don't know how many times they're going to present a mismatch, how many times the wide receivers are going to hold that upper hand. But the Steelers wide receivers aren't terrible. They're not great. I think they could use an addition. But I also look at it and say Calvin Austin's better than what his stats have said the last couple of years. Aaron's a guy who processes the field historically as good as anybody. And so far, you've seen the quick release, just like Wex was saying. You see that sidearm, that little flick, and you're going, that's way faster than we've seen since Ben left. And that's going to come in handy. That's times where Calvin's so fast that sometimes he's open before anybody could realize it. If you have a quarterback who could actually get them the football, maybe that just expands what they're able to do. I'm not saying they're going to be great. I'm just saying it opens the door where I don't think that door was open the last 2 or 3 years.
Well, we might see a consistent slant to DK on key downs. I mean, DK loves that play. Rodgers loves, who doesn't love a big guy? Having this big guy here. Darnell Washington has been a tease for us. Oh, the big guy, but he's not that fast. He's a tackle out there. He's not as nimble as DK, so it's pretty cool seeing this. And that's a nice man. He's a monster. And Aaron will take to that, I think. I'd like to see him fully throw, but that's, I guess, for training camp.
Have you guys been asked a bunch of times, is DK the same size as George Pickens? And you have a hard time explaining that they're both ginormous, but DK's just...
It's
DK
like Darnell
exist.
Washington with great moves.
That's exactly it. He's a ripped Darnell Washington. And George Pickens is just a tall wide receiver. DK Metcalf is a tight end who plays wide receiver and is faster than anybody on the field. It's crazy.
He's a beast. You know, he supposedly has a beastly demeanor on the field when things aren't going right and structure falls down. And maybe they understand with coaches, if he thinks that what they're doing is poor, he demands accountability. And I saw a little timber from him today. It was pretty cool. There's going to be some accountability all the way around. And Rodgers was talking about how much he likes that in receivers, because Rodgers is famous for having problems with his receivers.
Yeah.
So if these are two guys that are so demanding of people's accountability, that they may be a great match.
And it could be a powder keg for sure. It'd be
Or a powder keg. That's, true love. That's what you got.
Yeah. Not necessarily.
Oh, I don't know. If it's true, there's a powder keg waiting.
So let's stick with the wide receiver discussion there for a second. Zach Izani said that Calvin Austin is the second wide receiver. Are you guys buying that? And does that eliminate the speculation about trying to find somebody out there via trade?
I'm buying that for right now. Jeremy. But, I think always Calvin Austin's going to have to overcome the inherent challenges of being a shade under 5'8" in a league where being a big body really helps, especially down in the red zone. And, I think he'll be very useful between the 20s and that kind of thing. But he's just not a large man. There's not a large target there to hit for Aaron Rodgers or any quarterback. So, yeah, maybe he'll change his game a little bit to fit this role that he's being cast in by Zach Izani and potentially by Omar Khan if he doesn't make any other moves and, uncover quickly, move the chains. We know he's tough as nails. He's got that for sure. He always bounces back up. He'll take a big hit over the middle if he has to, despite being about as tall as me, like I just said. So, they have time still to work through this. And I think the other thing too, I've made this point elsewhere, as they get a chance in training camp to watch Aaron Rodgers play, evaluate his fit in this offense, evaluate how much he's got left, like Wex said earlier, then maybe it pushes you in one direction or the other. Hey, yeah, let's go get him another piece of the puzzle, or let's just kind of roll with what we have because the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
You have to respect him even more then.
100%.
He really is tough.
100%. That he will take today. He caught a pass across the middle where Minkah, it was a seam route, beautiful pass by Mason, and Minkah was there. And I don't think he would have hit him hard enough where it would have just been an explosive, demoralizing hit, but he definitely would have hit him as the ball came in. And I said, I think he would have caught it. I think he would have held on to that ball. He is a tough dude. I think I'm on the other side of Brian, though. I do think that the Steelers are going to look. I just don't know if the options are going to be there. They seem almost too determined to fill their wide receiver room the way that they see fit. And if all the rumors of Chris Olave and Trey Palmer and Jonnu Smith are true, then you just look at it and say, they're already moving. So I look at it saying they're not looking for a replacement to Calvin Austin. They're looking for a wide receiver too, because Calvin Austin's their starting slot and they don't have anybody else on the outside. And when that happens, I'm with Brian and Wex on the fact of I'm letting Aaron Rodgers show me what he has, and I'm letting the wide receivers show me what they have, and then I'm going to make a move if needed. But they seem to be, I think, a little bit like already the train's rolling, and they just want to make something happen.
Brandon Johnson, another big day today. Nobody cares. I asked the coach, are you overlooking him? And he said, I brought him here, man. he was with
they were
him
together in Denver.
And before Denver. He told me which team it was. He said, I brought him to Denver because of my experience with him at
with
X.
the Jets.
I forget.
It might have been
with
with the
I don't
Jets.
maybe a college program. I don't know. And then I thought it might have been Russell that brought him from Denver. But so Brandon Johnson, and that's not going to happen. They're going to keep looking for number 2.
Yeah. Brock Taylor, if you ask all the fans. Brock Taylor.
No way.
I know.
That's
I know.
No way. It ain't going to happen.
I know. I'll give you a sleeper, though. That 34 kid. If anybody should make that team, it's number 34. That kid looks like
another
a stud.
big day for Max. Don't call me Rudy Hurleman.
That guy. He is a stud. Guy never misses a play, let me tell you, ever.
We talked about him last week.
I'm sorry. I just don't.
That's okay.
And the one thing I wanted to bring up, we don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but TJ Watt obviously is not at minicamp. Is there any cause for concern here in terms of his contract negotiations?
I think so. I mean, he's not here. He's making a statement. It tells me that they're not close.
I agree with that. I don't think it's cause for concern yet. I think it's a little early in the process of the offseason, but I do think that it's a statement, and one TJ hasn't made before. You know, TJ showed up the last time. He was here for all this. He was working harder than anybody else was. He was just on the sidelines. This year, he's tossing up deuce signs, which you could say whatever you want. That was a clear shot. And we now know that was exactly what it was intended for.
Belief in what's going to happen can change like that.
I agree. That's why it's just early. It's just they aren't close. I think he probably got a little upset, if that's the right word to use, that DK came in here and immediately got this massive contract where he's got to negotiate every penny when he's been here forever, and he's been the guy, and Myles Garrett's getting paid $40 million a year.
This is almost like a rite of passage for Steelers greats. You know, nobody really gets out of the organization, even the one helmet guys, without one or two contentious negotiations on their resume. I mean, even Ben at the end, there was some haggling over that final year salary for him. And we think back to this time a year ago with Cam Hayward, and I'm sure things got a little bit dicey at times. The Steelers have always been, now I sound like Mike Tomlin, they've always been comfortable with some discomfort when it comes to working through these contract extensions with their biggest stars. I just can't see them letting, like I said, the biggest star, the face of the franchise, the guy who's got the most people in Western Pennsylvania and internationally in Steelers Nation wearing the number 90 jersey. I don't think they're going to let him go, because it's not like he's a shell of himself. He can still play. Obviously, your mileage may vary on if he's lost a step, but I don't really know why they didn't get it done sooner. I think it's just a same old Steelers kind of thing. They operate the way they do, and they are a large ship that turns slowly, as someone famously put it one time about them.
Out of respect for time, let's just bring this home here, and I'd like to just we can go Brian, then to Noah, but standouts from OTAs up into what we've seen here so far in minicamp, or maybe sleepers, people that aren't being talked about.
All right, I'll start, because I know Jim Wexell would have loved to have been in on this. I know you don't really like the locker room scrums a lot of the time, but we had a really fun one Wednesday morning before practice with Juan Thornhill, new safety who's coming over from the Browns. Okay, go.
I talked to him yesterday.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes.
How was he?
And he ripped the Browns.
Yeah.
and I thought, man, I should give that guy a re-chance on that one. But I had a bunch of questions for him, and he was really good and really engaging. But we had so much from yesterday that I saved it, right? But I did tease that I got some really good Juan Thornhill for tomorrow. So I asked someone, did he rip the Browns? And he goes, oh, yeah.
Well, he didn't really rip the Browns. He was very kind of bothered by the reputation that he got from fans and media in Cleveland, calling him Jog Thornhill for a play where he was low, and he didn't deny it. He said, yeah, it got caught on video, basically. I was not trying to jog. I was just dog tired and playing through injuries. And yeah, you pull up the clip. It's one clip, but it looks bad. It looks like I'm not running and I'm not playing hard for my team in the second quarter against the Saints. And he basically was like, look, I'm going to see them twice a year now. I don't like that I have this label on me. So it was, as far as those, mass interviews go, it was a pretty fun one. And I'll just say, yeah, Jeremy, I wasn't expecting, but he was fun to chat with.
And he looks good on the field.
He does so far.
Well,
yeah,
he said he was
impressed by himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was impressed by himself. That's awesome.
He admitted he wasn't at OTAs the last couple of weeks. So he was like, I was home studying, and I was actually pleasantly surprised kind of that they threw me in right away, and I was able to hit the ground running.
Nice.
Yeah. I'll give you a fun one, that sleeper, but I still think it's a long way for him to make the 53-man roster. DJ Thomas Jones had a day today. They had a couple of nice catches. He's had 2 good days in a row now where I've been pretty impressed. I'm a fullback guy. Okay, if this guy is going to be, they brought him in, he was a tight end in college. They listed him as a fullback. I'm waiting for him to play fullback. I think the Steelers need a fullback. Even if they play 5 snaps a game, it's been so long of Connor Hayward running out there and being a fullback when he's not a fullback. And I'm like, okay, let's do something here. DJ Thomas Jones had a couple of nice catches today, especially one for a tight end straight over the head. But I'll give you the real one. And that's Darnell Washington I think Darnell actually looks good. Like, I think we've tried to hype up Darnell for the last 2 years, and that's all we could do is just be like, Darnell, dude, he caught that pass that one time. It was there. And I think this is the first time it's like, oh, Darnell's actually like making contested catches. He's getting open. Like, or you'd hear somebody talking like, oh man, I don't know if Darnell's going to be here tomorrow. And you just don't see that. He's out there. You could tell that the conditioning's working and the weight loss is there. And I don't know. To me, Darnell is taking a step forward. We'll see what happens though.
You know, there are going to be for some safeties who are not going to like playing the Steelers with Darnell and DK running short slants and just crushing, looking for the little guys.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And if he's in shape enough to start hurdling some dudes as well, all those little guys going after his legs, he's going to teach them some lessons. And I'm just like, I think if Darnell could pull it together, he's one of the most exciting players the Steelers would have. That's a long ways away, but like you get somebody who's 7 feet tall, 320 pounds. That guy's fucking.
As for DJ, I talked to DJ today. The tight end with 4 names, the fullback.
Yeah,
that's 4 names at 2 positions.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Couple colleges. He told me that he was first a baseball player, and he goes, I was really good, and it took a lot to convince me to play football. And once I started playing football, I loved it. I said, what, were you some kind of cleanup hitting first baseman? He goes, yeah. How did you know?
It's like, oh, who would have thought? Who would have thought the guy that clearly looks like you're hitting 400 home runs a season?
Well, you look like Cecil Fielder, so I'm going to assume you played a little like Cecil Fielder.
Well, you know, I said, why'd you leave Ole Miss? Didn't you get along with Jackson Dart? And he told me that it was a money opportunity that he got offered by South Alabama, and he was taking care of his mom. He was the only one taking care of his mom. So he took the money, and he was so glad. He loved it at South Alabama.
That's a cool story. I'm rooting for him. You get an undrafted guy, and it's so funny because you say, well, the Steelers paid him more money to an undrafted free agent than they ever have.
Yeah.
It's $30,000, which is, you know, you look at the Giants, they just signed, I forget what the name was, but I watched it like 4 minutes beforehand. They signed somebody to like $250,000, and you're going, it doesn't hold the same ground in Pittsburgh as it does everywhere else, but it's got to say something.
The last guy that happened to, I remember, it was Mateo Durant in the 2022.
Was it Mateo? Who was the corner before that from Michigan?
Shakur Brown.
Shakur Brown was the guy that got it before
so
that.
We kind of do this every year.
About Batko, man.
Yeah, that guy.
Mind like an elephant.
Mateo
I'll say this,
Durant, he got overshadowed a little by another running back in that same undrafted free agent class. What was his name? Oh, yeah, Jalen Warren.
His shot was out the door the second Jalen showed up. So,
all right, my sleepers are not really sleepers. We've talked about a bunch of guys, and I'll be writing about more guys as we go on. But I got to say, Connor Hayward had a huge couple days. You know, he's starting to look more and more like his father, weight-wise. He's still, I mean, he runs hard. He gets up. He jumps. He's got an odd body shape. Interesting. I asked Cam about him. How's your brother doing? Because I don't know. He's a knucklehead. I said, how come you didn't say he was one of your best friends on the team on a podcast recently? My brother, as my best friend? Are you kidding me? He's a knucklehead. You know, that was pretty fun. And the other sleeper is not really a sleeper, but Minkah looks fantastic. Yeah. He makes some plays that, wow, I must be watching an NFL practice. You know, when it's not those big receivers, it's Minkah on defense. So
I agree with the Minkah. Minkah's the guy that this season you're looking at it going, I think Pat might be really good this season, but I really think Minkah might be really, really good this season. Like Minkah might be back. He looks fast and all over the place. And it just, last year, I don't know, it just felt off. This year does not.
Yeah. Well, we have some fresh faces to look forward to, and maybe some rejuvenated veterans that'll make things exciting here come August when training camp comes around. But gentlemen, thanks so much for everything today. A lot of great insight and wisdom dropped. And where can we check out your work?
post-gazette.com/Steelers for me. And yeah, we have our Post-Gazette Sports Network on YouTube as well. So catch more of me there.
And for me, you can find the podcast at youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. And then you can check out my written work at si.com/NFL/Steelers.
Awesome.
And our site, Jeremy, we're still at 60% special right now until the 18th.
All right. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. And then Brian and Noah, if you can send some of your subscribers our way to give us some love, we'd appreciate that too. So
we got
Noah gave me the parting gift. Noah said Minkah might be back. Slap that on all the headlines.
That's what I'm saying.
There we go.
That's exciting. That's
all right.
awesome.
We'll see you guys.
All right. Take care, everyone.